So without further ado, take two, let's start sassing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let you guys, I'm gonna break you out and hopefully you'll be broken out into groups. I'm gonna try to make the groups a little bit bigger so that you guys are all working together and try to get everybody at least to question 2 and then make your attempt at question 3. And then I'm going to jump in and out of the rooms to spend a good amount of time with everybody. So I'm going to give us about 10 to 15 minutes so that we have plenty of time to kind of look through things, talk about things, and make sure we're all on the same page. So does everybody remember items 1 and 2 and hopefully give a try to 3 on the Become a SAS Pro Google Drive or Google Sheet? All right. So, and as people come in, hopefully I can figure out how to get them into a room. Questions? We good? All right. Let's see. I'll do 3 rooms. That'll put about 5 per room. So I think that's a good amount where everybody's working together. Make sure that you try to participate in any way you can. So if your SAS isn't working, maybe work on the code book aspect and looking stuff up or something like that. And if your SAS isn't working, let me know and I can help. All right, that should be pulling them up. Oopsies. Oh, okay. All right.
Hello? Oh, you're on mute.
There we go. So one of the other solutions I found, I'm going to send it to you so that you can see it and just read through it so I can jump to the other rooms. I'm going to chat it to you and see if that helps because I don't know what the deal is. And then also make sure I would just directly contact SAS.
Okay.
Because otherwise you might have to reinstall everything. And honestly, that's usually what I do, but I'm not going to ask you to do that. So did you see the link?
Yeah, I just opened it.
All right. I'm going to jump to another room and I'll come back.
Okay, thank you.
Let me see which one I haven't been to. I'll go to this one. How you looking, Daleen?
It says the same thing that you told me to do.
Even towards the bottom, though, it had a little bit of variation. That's what I wanted you to look at. Did you read the comments down towards the bottom? SAS itself. Otherwise, I would just contact I would contact SAS directly and tell them that it's not working.
Okay.
You're the only one that this is doing it to, and I don't think, so I think it's an anomaly, but I don't know what,
Yeah, it worked perfectly fine the first time and then it just stopped working.
did you do anything different? Like, did you download any updates or anything? Can you remember? I know.
No,
It's
I
random
just
to ask you that.
like I've been seeing that there was an update that keeps popping up, but I never like clicked it to update.
Maybe it needs that update. I don't know. I don't know, Miha. I wish I had the answer. We've reached the limit of my knowledge. And that's why I'm like, I don't know what else to, let's see.
Yeah, I'm gonna try it again. Maybe I can change the location of the folder.
Maybe. I mean, that might not be a bad idea. Um, I wish I knew. I mean, normally, pretty much everything I can kind of figure out with Google, with my own experiences, but you guys come up with errors, and I'm like, okay, left field. So I don't know. I don't know where that one came from. Yeah, because I got nothing.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna try to redo it again.
Yeah, give it a try and see if that helps. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry,
It's okay. Thank you.
but yeah, keep trying. Don't give up. Oh, okay, we're back. I wasn't sure. Like, is everyone back? Okay, so how was that? Did it get at least 1% easier? Raise your hand or make a noise or some kind of gesture, not obscene, we're recording. All right. Um, what, I mean, you can tell me, let's see here. Does anybody have any comments on what parts were easier or what aspects of it were easier? And what is still really challenging?
For me personally, I feel like using the code book and like finding exactly like what you need is the hardest part.
Kira, I couldn't have paid you to say that right now. Ready? So you're saying you hate the code book. I'm feeling that. Everybody raise your hand if you hate the code book. It's a terrible code book, but that's why we start with that one, because it's a crappy code book. But it's the one that's attached to this data, right? So I'm sure all of you are thinking, this code book sucks. I can do better, right? Well, guess what? You're going to. That's our next activity. Because one of the most important things, oh, I gotta share, sorry. My son just told me to shut it down. I'm being too loud, apparently. So one of the most important things is the code book though, right? Because would you have been able to analyze your data without the code book? No, it's extremely important. And that code book is terrible because nobody wants to touch it. It's like a typhoid Mary of code books. So we want to do a better code book. And when you begin to look at your data and when you begin to look for data that matters to you, you're going to realize that you need a good code book. And you're going to subset a code book usually from existing data, especially if you do a secondary data analysis. And so you need to make your own code book. And this is where we're going to this is the easiest thing in the world. That is a step that's often skipped. And you're kind of usually left on your own to do this, but not here. We're going to do it ourselves and we're going to do it together. So what you're going to do now very quickly is taking the variables that you learned, you're going to see how to make a really good code book. And a code book, think of it as a key to the map, right? Because essentially a code book is a map and it's telling you exactly what things are, where they are, and what they mean. So remember I said variables and values, right? So when we talked about measures and in the lecture, when you see the recording, you're really going to understand when we talk about the different variables and what they mean within them. So what I want you to do is you see this. Oh, am I not sharing the right screen? You guys can see my screen, right?
Yes, I
yes. For some reason, it's not highlighting it for me, so I wasn't sure. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to go to, where's my code book link? I think it's here. Oh, it's at the bottom here. That's why it is. Oh, that's not the one. Don't look at that. Not yet. Well, it's in Dr. Shafino folder. It's code book example. Okay? And that's what this looks like. Who said that? That's funny. That is the one I'm looking for. You nailed it. So what you're going to do is you make a code book that works for you. These are some of the suggested critical values that you want to include in your code book because you want it to make sense for you. So for example, Kira, I'm gonna grab you first. And what would you put here to make it make sense to you? So you guys are all gonna work together, thinking about, and I want you to have in your mind proc contents and your proc contents values and that terrible code book that we just used. So what's the first variable that you can think of that you used that was very painful? Just off the top of your heads. I can't hear you.
For-profit control.
Control, right? So for profit is a value. It's not the variable, right?
Right.
So, oops, why won't it let me type? Okay, somebody else, it's not letting me type. So can somebody else type control? And I think it was spelled CNTRL. Thank you. Now, what type of variable is that? Where was that information? That was in proc contents, but it was also in the codebook. What kind of variable was control? You remember? There's two options essentially, character or numeric, right?
Is it character?
I can't.
Sorry?
I can't remember. I think it was, I don't remember actually, to be honest with you. Let's go with that. Now, here's where it gets tricky because it's really easy for us to forget, but value is what makes up the control, the idea of this variable, right? So what are the values of control? And everybody should be contributing to this. So jump in there. It's a group shared spreadsheet.
Well, numbers.
Okay, more specifically?
Well, numbers that mean something. So a state's assigned a number.
Well, for control though.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
By the not
The type of
for-profits.
hospital
There
is
you
assigned.
There you go. So wait, what does all that mean though? Does that still give us meaning? Remember, this is a dictionary, so we have to be specific. We have to be, because remember, if you guys fall off the face of the earth, somebody has to be able to come in here and look at it and say, oh, I know what to do. So make it work for you. What does 12 through 16 mean?
Twelve equals state, and then so like 12 through 16 are government, not non-federal.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Thank you. That's it. Go ahead, write it in there, Kira. So, and if it's easier, you can write it up here in this little up here. So, and actually each one equals something specific, doesn't it? But you can do 12 through 16 equals government non-federal. 21 equals what? By the way, government non-federal is the same as
Non-profit,
public.
public. That too.
Nonprofit is coming up, isn't it? Is it 12 through 16? I haven't looked at the survey in a while.
Wouldn't federal be public as well?
Government non-federal.
Yeah, and then 21 and 23 are non-government.
Non-government, non-federal, right?
Non-government and not-for-profit is 21 and 23.
Okay. So go ahead and assign meaning to them. Why is nobody writing anything here? Okay, here, I'll start. See? Teamwork, guys, come on. You're making your data dictionary. We're eating into our break, y'all. I don't know about you guys, but I'm thirsty.
Also, I think when it's grayed out, that someone's working on.
Oh, I don't think it's me. I got out of it. I'm out. I'm over here.
I'm working on it, so I can type it.
Okay, thank you. See, I'm over here in the corner. All right. All right. So does that make sense? So I added original, and this is to help you guys for your projects because you're going to learn to recode the variables because they are actually separate, right? They're 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. They're not merged like that, are they? They're not collapsed like that for you. You have to do that. So you're going to have to recode those, right? So when you make your new variable, you'll name it something else. And so I always suggest putting the original variable name in there as well, in your code book, just so you can indicate, hey, I made this variable, this new variable, from this original raw variable. So control is a raw variable because it comes from the data set you took. Does that make sense? I need everybody to understand that. So can everybody make a little hand or a little thumbs up or something like that? Okay, I got 2, 3.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, does anybody not understand that or missed half of what I said? I'm happy to repeat it.
Can you repeat what you said, please?
Absolutely. So control is a raw variable to you because you took this data set, it's new to you, so it's raw, okay? You can use the raw data for your analysis, but you guys are already naturally recoding. Do you see how you did 12 through 16? So you're already not happy with this variable. So you're gonna have to recode it in the data set, right? So you're gonna actually make a new variable for yourself. These are called dummy variables. I know the word is funny, that's fine, because it's an indicator of a variable that is indicating from another variable or from some other condition, right? And so when the column header that says original, I like to put where it came from, where my dummy or my baby variable came from, who's the mother or father. Does that make sense? So for example, let's say I say ownership, because I also like my hospitals to make sense, my variable names to make sense. Ownership, and then I would say say 0 equals, etc., right? And here in original, I would say control.
I'm not sure if anybody else just cut out or if it was my computer only, but I didn't catch what you just said
It was
about.
me too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Same.
So see how you guys naturally aggregate the data, but that's not how the data really is. It really is 12 equals something, 13 equals something. It has a very specific fine scale description, right? So, but you guys, oh, did it do it again? Okay, it has a fine scale description, right? So you guys are naturally aggregating the data or collapsing it into these groups of public, not-for-profit, for-profit. And so you have to create a dummy variable, which is a dummy is like, you know, like the dummies in the stores. That was me pretending to be a dummy. And so this and this are equivalent variables, right? But the values are presented differently. So 0, 1, 2, which is saying 0 equals public hospitals, 1 equals not-for-profits, 2 equals for-profits. Because right now it's the values, there's how many categories? Like 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 21, 22, 23, 31, 32, 33, like over a dozen categories. Well, we don't want that many categories. We want to shrink them down. Does that make sense? Because right now we're writing them as 12 through 16. We really should be writing them as 12 equals some type of public hospital. 13 equals some other type of public hospital. 14 equals some other type of public hospital. Yes?
So dummy variables are just variables that are edited to your own liking.
Yes. That's very important. You have to really be comfortable understanding that. And if you don't, I'm happy to review it or repeat it with you guys. So for example, number of school years completed, then you aggregate them to less than high school, more than high school, things like that. Or age categories, right? A continuous variable of 0 to 100 years old, and then we put 65 and over, under 65. That's 2 categories. Or we say 4 categories. So we put them into buckets. Does that make sense? Yes? And so in the original column, I always suggest putting it, if you got it from another variable, you don't have to do this, but you put it so you remember where was the original raw variable that I pulled this from, because things get messy after a while. Okay, so let's stop with that. But I would encourage you. Kira, do you like this data dictionary a little better?
Yeah, I just had one question. So the first time where you had control under variable name, when you're actually filling this out, would you actually put the ownership line for like what you want things to be defined as?
No, you would put the actual not like the actual code name that you type into SAS.
Okay,
And that comes from your proc contents if you want to verify it.
okay.
This is a new variable name. So I can do owner. We can call it owner. But I have to make that. It doesn't exist yet. We're
All
gonna
right.
make that. We're all gonna make that together, maybe next week. Okay?
Gotcha.
What you literally type into SAS to call SAS to make a table for you. The description, so that could be like the notes or description. That can be, this is getting a little crazy, so let's switch it out. The notes can be the type of ownership. Okay? That's not a very good description, but you know what I mean. Great question. Does that make sense to everybody else? All right, let's take a little tiny break, and then we're gonna move on to getting some data, so that if you don't love hospital data, there's some other data for your research question, and we're gonna play with a dummy research question I made. It's not a dummy research question. It's a test research question. All right, take a break, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, whatever you need. All right, you guys, let's get started. My son was making fun of me because I get so loud when I'm excited. So I apologize for my loud voice. You can just turn me down. But let's get started. So we've already talked a little bit about the data. We're doing that in conjunction with developing our own research studies and designing our own research studies. So that kind of segues us well into homework 4. And where is homework 4? Or assignment 4, if you will. So let me pull that up. So this is a brief literature review, and it's not really writing, although I do expect complete sentences. So I know I didn't write that into the homework, but please do write in complete sentences. And this is essentially a literature review that is very specific to a lot of the goals that we've been trying to attain in terms of identifying and learning from the literature that to help us attain our goal of developing the best study for our research question, okay? So am I sharing? I'm not sharing. Hold on. Let's try that again. Okay. So if you can see, I know I don't indicate specifically to write in complete sentences. Please do write in complete sentences. But homework 4 is already published. And so 2 things. One is that you can use your research question from previous discussions or previous iterations, but you're not beholden to that. At this point, though, I do strongly encourage you to begin to settle into a research question. And today's activity, I think, will help you once you start looking at other data sets. You can completely use the hospital data set if you think you want to use a hospital level question. But you can also begin to see the other data sets that we're going to use. And it can help you also decide if you want to use a different research question. Because remember, one of the key things I said is that research questions are iterative. And I'm going to give you another reality of research questions and why they're iterative is because of the data. So there's a kind of a joke that epidemiologists look for data and then they find the question, or they look at data and then they find the question. And that ends up happening because of data availability. So that's a reality. So just don't be surprised if you can't find a research question that's directly related. I'm sorry, data that's directly related to your research question, because unless you collect primary data that is going to specifically answer your research question, it's unlikely that you'll find the perfect data set. And again, that's the big iterative component. However, in the literature, we can also find conceptual frameworks and data sets that other writers and scientists have used that, that can closely approximate information that we're interested in. And that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to give you a research question to play with. You don't have to use it. If you've already found some literature and you saw a data set that they're using that's going to closely approximate a research question you're very interested in, by all means, go check out that data set, especially if it's public, because that means you don't have to pay and you don't have to do a major data use agreement, okay? So all of this is all bridging towards bringing it all together for us. And the real idea, again, is to extract those variables or those measures that are going to help you decide what you're going to ultimately put into your analyses, your tables, and things like that. And the reason I say to consider measures is because maybe they're doing broad measures for their conceptual models that you can then operationalize into variables, okay? And don't worry about the values so much as long as you can get the variables right, because then we can decide what your values are going to be and what's more appropriate. You have more flexibility on the value of each variable. It's about really getting the measures that the umbrella idea, the concept, to identify variables for those concepts, okay? Does that kind of jive with what you've already learned and start being familiar? And hopefully if it doesn't, then our meeting will definitely help you put that all together.
Dr. Shafino,
Yeah.
Sorry, for assignment 4, it says list 4 publications. Do those publications have to be like systematic, peer reviewed, or like could they be gray literature as well?
That's a good question. I hadn't thought of that. I think they should definitely be from a reliable source. So can you tell me an idea of what you had in mind? Or because gray literature is still like a white paper from a foundation. That's
Yeah, it's mainly I have like these 2 big like publications from like I think one was like the American Hospital Association and different.
Oh yeah, that's totally fun.
Okay, great.
It
And
just
then,
shouldn't be all of them, right? Because
Yeah.
that doesn't help you in terms of an analysis or like a statistical approach or data source.
okay. Okay, thank you.
Well, it usually doesn't. I shouldn't say for sure. It depends on the other type of literature. But yeah, no, I think that's totally fine. Especially if it's from a reputable organization, like a federal government organization, World Health Organization, Commonwealth Fund, Kaiser. And you'll see actually when I show you the data sets that are available, that there's actually a lot more out there than we tend to think. So that's a good question. And like I said, I just don't want you guys to, because these are all the steps that you're going to have to do anyway once you do settle on your research question. And so my goal is that all of the work that you're doing now is going to contribute to that. Now, if you find, down the road in a few weeks, you decide you actually found the research area that you're in love with and you want to change, by all means do so, because remember, you want to contribute to your ultimate goal and your final projects or your final lit reviews. So either one is going to benefit you either way. Either way, this practice is incredibly helpful and it helps you to think. So the key to a literature review in terms of convergent themes and divergent themes or measures is synergy. So I put together a little activity. I thought it'd be a little bit of fun. So if you guys look at the assignment tab for lab, not the assignment tab, the lab tab for this week, you're gonna see a couple different paintings. Some may be familiar, some may not. So is everybody there with me on this? So I would like for you to tell me what all of these have in common or convergent and what is divergent. So I'll give you, there's how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? I thought there were 6.
I think one of the Las Marinas, it looks like it's a broken link, so we don't have
No!
Yes, sorry.
Miércoles. How could you, Las Meninas? Okay, so forget Las Meninas. 5. So there's 5. Thank you for noticing that. All right, so who wants to tell me one divergent feature of the
Divergent.
convergent? Which is the one?
They're from like different periods.
Very good. Who said that? Oh, nice, T. All right, what else? So wait, they are all from different periods?
Not all, but okay, I don't know. I think some of them are from different periods, but they look very eclectic.
So when we're synergizing, we got to think about more specificity, right? So we want to say of the data reviewed or of the information and literature reviewed, most are from different periods if you don't know exactly. But ideally, you want to say of the 35 pieces of literature reviewed, 30 were from different periods. Or in this case, 4 appear to be from different periods, or 3 or however many. Whatever you say, Twee. What's your definitive answer, Dr. Twee?
Of the, I have to look at the pictures again. Of the 5, about 50% are from, or about 80% are from different eras. I don't know.
Excellent. So would you say then that this sample is strongly correlated with being from different eras? That era is associated? Like it's important to consider?
Yes.
There you go. So maybe this is going to be something that stays in our model because it keeps popping up. Okay. Does everybody see where I'm going here? Okay. All right. Who wants to go next? Thank you, Tweet. That was very brave of you for going. It's the first sacrificial lamb. Come on. I'm going to call on somebody. Get ready. Winner,
You
winner.
said divergence?
Or
Like, what's
convergence. Whatever you want.
Okay. Well, so I notice all of these depict people, multiple people. And it looks like everyone is depicted are all adults.
Ah,
I don't see any children in any of them. Maybe in the second one.
you would have in Las Meninas. Sorry. So that's information. Give us some knowledge.
All of the pictures sampled depicts adults, multiple adults.
Multiple, like a lot of people, right?
Mhm.
And then a lot of adults. Very good. So are you guys kind of picking up what I'm laying down here with synergy and knowledge versus information? Because most of your careers, you've probably done a lot of information reporting, right? But knowledge is the harder part. It's coming to some conclusions in terms of why does that factor, does that factor matter? Yes, it does. It's a lot of people, whatever a lot of people means. Okay. All right. Who's next? We've got a few more.
Can I say that they're all paintings, or is that too obvious?
No, actually.
Okay.
Let me challenge you though. You sure you want to sit on that? You're very close to.
Okay. Well, I mean, they could be pictures of paintings. Is that another way to phrase it?
They're pieces of art.
Yes, they're all pieces of art. But what kind of art? So yes, they're all pieces of art and paintings, yes. These are all pictures of paintings, obviously, because I stole them. But this is a what? Can you tell? Maybe you can't tell.
Is it a church?
So it's
on a wall.
yes. This is where it's originally painted. It's a mural, or actually it's a fresco. It's more elegant to say that, but yes. So what's the knowledge? Most are paintings with a very small representation of murals. Okay. Is this making you more confused or is it helpful? I'm a little worried it's making you helpful. Okay.
Yeah, it's helpful. I think the specificity is like, oh, that's another component we have to include when we look for our look into our data sets and analyze it and interpret it. So
yes, I thought it'd be fun because they're pictures, colorful. Okay, one more. Anybody?
Wait, Dr. Shafina?
Yes.
So does that mean when we're doing our research, we would have to describe this kind of information, like of whether or not they're similar or different when kind of explaining our research findings and stuff?
Not your findings, your literature. When you're looking for risk factors, you're not going to pick a factor or a characteristic that you're going to analyze that never appears. So I'll give you a hint. See that? Is that a monkey? That's a monkey. That monkey's super interesting. Why? Why is that monkey super cool? Because A, it's a monkey. But what else?
It's in a park.
Okay, yes, it's in a park, but that's not why it's super interesting. When we think about our whole population here, our whole sample.
Because there's no other monkeys.
There's no other monkeys. Do you make your whole study about this monkey? Why not?
Because there's no other monkeys.
Because there's no other monkeys. This is an overview. So you know that, yes, there is some suggestion that the monkey's cool, but he's not cool enough to be mentioned in all the other pictures. So it's, the evidence is weak that monkeys are cool. Yes.
So is that why in many of our articles that we're reading and the studies is like, this is, you know, we're including everyone, right? But then there are some exclusions, you know, to these variables, whatnot. I know I'm butchering it, but you're nodding, so
No, you're doing great. You're doing great. So there's, why do we include things in our studies, in our models? We include them because of the literature. And we exclude them because of the literature, right? So monkeys get excluded. Unless you are specifically very curious about monkeys, right? Then if that's the whole topic of your research and you're prepared for negative results, but you really just want to know about monkeys across all kinds of different settings, and that's the focus of your research, then you include the monkeys. Or your PI tells you to include the monkeys. And that'll happen too. So for me, my monkey is language proficiency. I want language everywhere. I don't care. In some cases, no, actually that's not true. It usually makes sense. But does that make sense? So usually it's the literature, the science, and then other reasons. Very short list of other reasons. You guys are never gonna look at monkeys the same, I know. I'm sorry. But I hope it helps. Does that answer your question, Jefferson?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. I was like, oh gosh, he went away. All right. So that's the monkey. That's it. That's all I have on homework 4. Any questions about homework 4? No?
I do want to clarify, because I'm reading off the instructions. So we can use the same research question and the same articles from our assignment 3.
Yes. And but you'll need to grow it. So if you're not happy with the article, because remember, you have to find convergence. So if they're totally like completely different, probably not a good idea. So just think of it as your paintings. Paint the picture for me. Okay? Uh-huh. Any other questions? All right. So I'm going to give you guys an exercise called putting it together. And you can kind of work on it on your own, and you can work on it together, and I'll let you guys have the last few minutes. But what I want you to notice, I did the research question for you, and I gave you guys a chance to do your hypotheses. I did the lit review for you and gave you what the factors are, gave you the model. So we're going to work our way through this together. And I know we're a little bit short on time, but what I want you guys to do is you have to do think about the PICO here. So label the PICO. And then what I really want you guys to do is think about all the different data sources that you would look for, right? So we're going to try to match the data sets. And I put the data sets, though, it's a little tricky because it was kind of sneaky of me, but I put them in here. So if we go home, I put them in here because you're going to go back to them often. So I actually put them in our resources tab. So if you look, I have a lot of data here. I mean, a lot. So here are the PDFs, so you can download it. And then here are the slides. So basically, there's two kinds of data that you can find for the research question. There are research data sets and there's non-research data sets. And research data sets are going to be a lot cleaner. They're going to be, so by the way, this AHA data set is kind of a mixture of the two because you do have to pay for it. So I'm going to focus on showing you guys the research data sets and non-research that are publicly available, meaning free. And I can tell you easily that there's at least 4 public use data sets for that research question that could work, okay? So don't fear if you can't find them. There's something out there, but I'll give you.
So sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Did you publish this by any chance? Because I'm in the HSR. Okay.
Sorry. Thank you. Toya, what would I do without you? I was so excited. I've had this up forever. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry, guys. So here's a bunch of data sets, and I already gave you some hints. And this is your coding support too, by the way, a little shout out to SAS. But basically, like I said, there's research and non-research. And really the name of the game is to play around. So, oops, too far. Because you guys are doing healthcare delivery, you'll primarily want to look at process data, outcomes data, and you're going to see what matches with your research question. So like I said, my research question is pretty simple. You don't have to use that one. But just to give you an idea, here is one example. I did copy these, so I don't have a scanner. I'm sorry, at home. And HRSA is one example. So that's the what is it? Human Resources Services Association or something. I don't know. It's a huge data set. So if you're interested in nurses and their health outcomes, this is a great free data set. Medicaid claims for low income, utilization and access. That's another one. That one you have to pay for though, by the way. MEPS is another great one. That's economic data, right? So if you're interested in insurance coverage and utilization in terms of costs, that is an excellent data set. It's a little bit harder to use, but it's definitely usable. Nursing homes is for older adults. And so the health and retirement study is actually one of the most robust data sets that has been around, and it's such a good data set. So that's something to look at. And then, I mean, there's so many. So I hope you guys will also, oh, Luke just submitted one. And you guys can add to this. I'm gonna see if I can put comments so you guys can add to this, but what I'm trying to get at is that there are so many useful public use data sets that have been around for decades. One of the oldest and most well-known, obviously, is the census data, and more specifically because, and the census is in the Constitution, as you know, but within that is the American Community Survey. And that data set, I'm sorry, my slides are not advancing. There we go. Let me see. So these are nationally representative sample data sets. This is the area resource file. You can just Google these, right? So the BRFIS, or Behavioral Risk Factor Surveillance System, is another really well-known one. The Current Beneficiary Survey, if you're interested in mental health, if you're interested in utilization for individual physician offices, that's the NAMCIS. And hospital outpatient visits, that's the HAMCIS. And I put those on the main site. You have the health and nutrition, and then you have the health and NHIS, the National, oh gosh, I can't remember the name right now. Health interview, oh, it's right there, health interview survey. So anything that you can possibly think of, you're gonna have it. And because a lot of these are also representative of the population, you can also, they're weighted, so they come with complex weights. And I'm going to connect you guys with one of my former students that is doing a complex weighted analysis so that you guys can get some familiarity with what that means. It's not as intimidating. It might be right now, but it's not as intimidating as it seems. And then you have a representative sample of a population-based survey, because usually these are all subsamples, right, of the population. So they're not representative of the whole population until you weight them. Hopefully you remember what that means. I'm not going to go through every single one of these, but you guys can read through here. I really like the National Health Interview Survey. California has a very specific one for the California Health Interview Survey. It's just the same thing. That's a really good survey. It's a complex weights, but it's I've had 3 students do their final projects off of that data set, and they've done an exceptional job. Then you have your non-research data sets, and those can be anything. You can make a non-research data set out of anything. You can make a non-research data set. I believe I commented on one of yours about mining data from websites. So who was that? Tamron, was that you? So Tamron can make a data set. It's a non-research data set, but she can make a research data set if she does good methods for collecting her data. Because you can survey every single hospital in California and their websites. Say there's a certain measure that you're looking for. You make your own data set. It looks very similar to your data dictionary, and then you mine the data. So non-research tends to be very messy. And non-research basically means any information, right, data, numbers, that were not initially intended for research. So for example, electronic health records were originally what? Big fat paper files, right? And they had to be entered for clinician utilization for treatment planning. And they also had to be entered for claims and remuneration to the organization. There was nothing about research there, was there? And so that is why electronic health records are notoriously messy and difficult to analyze. Same with administrative claims data like Medicare and Medicaid claims. So those are non-research massive administrative databases. But they have a lot of great information and they are representative of a lot of people, okay? Let me see if I missed any other good ones. Oh, there you go. And then you have a lot of organization levels. So you have like the Commonwealth Fund, you have poll data from Gallup Health, for example. Kaiser has a lot of data, OECD health data. And that's if you are interested in cross-country comparisons. Health stats from the World Bank. And that's literally a drop in the bucket. I mean, a drop in the bucket of the health data that's available. So that's also why I have the urgency to meet with you so that you have the opportunity to ask me about what kind of data that you're interested in. Because I don't want to go over on time like I usually do, and I want to be respectful, I'm going to suggest that you do this exercise on your own so that it'll help you prepare for our meeting and give you a chance to visit different data sets. Because really at the end of the day, what I really want you to do is visit different data sets and really recognize how many data sets there are out there. And I'm sure most of you are familiar with at least one data set, right? Hopefully. Is there any data set that you are familiar with or have heard of that I didn't mention just off the bat?
UDS.
Health data.
Say again?
Sorry, Luke, go ahead.
Oh, UDS, Uniform Data System.
It's on the list.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I worked with the Ad Health data set before.
I almost put that on there. That is a phenomenal panel data set, right? So it's subpopulations at different points in time. That one you have to pay for. So I was avoiding any that you have to pay for, but that's an excellent data set. I wonder if they have some free samples.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like the first 3 waves are free, but
Oh,
the more recent ones you have to pay for, I'm pretty sure.
okay. Let me make sure we can share so you guys can actually add to my list. I don't know if we can. I'll try to make something where you guys can add to it. I would love that so we can all make it inclusive. Tweet, I saw somebody else make a move.
Yeah, I'm just curious because maybe it's because I've been like trying to proxy so many like research articles and stuff from the library. I wonder if our campus has that ability to do it with these databases that are paid since we're students.
That's a little tougher because depending on the data set, it does require a data use agreement. However, your professor is pretty well connected. So I know a lot of people that have access to these data sets. So I even actually know someone that has the ad health access, I think, if I recall correctly. But for like Medicare, Medicaid, AHA, for example, I bought. That's why you guys have access through me. So it just depends. And again, it just depends on your interest. That's why the sooner that you have your interest aligned, the sooner I can help you and connect you. But yeah, that's a great question. And the data, it's a little harder in terms of getting you access because they all require agreements. So with the literature and the pubs, the university has big agreements, which is ridiculous, but because especially since your tax dollars pay for most of the research that goes on. So we'll get started.
Thank you for clarifying.
No, of course, of course. Any other questions?
Dr. Shavina, did you by chance post that slide so that we can look at the different data sets?
Yes, I just published it. I'm sorry. I didn't realize that I hadn't turned it on. I caught that. Yeah, my bad. It should be visible now. Can you see it?
Where would we go to locate that?
Yeah, wait, that's what I was gonna ask. Where is it located?
I think you just click.
It's on HSR resources, and then you click through.
Yeah, just click through. I think that's why I was able to find it the second time when she published it.
See right here. Yeah, I forgot to publish it. I'm pretty good about publishing everything else. Yeah, so you get to it from your homepage. Down here at the bottom.
Sorry, you're not sharing your screen.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
I wanted to put it in there because I figured you guys are probably visited often, that I went ahead and put it in there instead of the module. So you go here and then just click through. And now it's published. It should be right there. Okay? See it?
It can also be found under modules. It's like the first one under HSR Prime.
There you go. That's where I put all the like goodies that you guys can go back and forth to.
For sure. Thank you.
Of course, of course. Okay, great job today, you guys. I'm sorry I couldn't break you guys out for the put it together example, but we can review it first beginning of class next week. Next week, we begin doing the different study designs. So we're gonna start doing survey research, and we're gonna hone in specifically on survey research, which is why this ties well into this, because most of the data sets that you will look at and more than likely use are based off surveys, just like AHA was. Okay? So please definitely review the lectures from this module and the last one so that you guys are, because there's a big part on survey research in this module to prime you for next week in terms of measures. Okay? Any other questions, comments, thoughts?
Dr. Shavina, is it okay if I talk to you for just like a couple minutes after class?
Sure. And Dalen, if you want to try, we can also work on that. I have a few minutes afterward.
Okay.
Anybody else? I thought I heard somebody else, but maybe not.
No, I had another question, but I can ask you afterwards too.
Yeah,
Okay.
I did. Oh, no, it's okay. You can go ahead. I'll just meet up with you later on, Dr. Shavina.
Okay, it's totally up to you guys. I'll just stick around and everybody else can just hang out and ask questions away. So go for it. Whoever had a question. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, mine shouldn't be too long. So in terms of the discussion posts, you talk about how we have to find 1 to 2 data sets. And if I want to use my research question, you were talking about doing the mining data set where I would have to create my own. So I'm kind of confused on what I should do, at least just for this discussion post.
So yours, yeah, well, if you want to do that, you absolutely can. So just describe what you would do.
To make my own data set?
And so instead of, because if you're not going to do secondary data, then you would basically make a data dictionary like the one that you saw us practice on. Think about the questions you would ask them, right?
Okay. Okay, yeah. I might email
Well,
a
actually,
question.
you would even make a data dictionary. It's even simpler. You would actually have to think about what data you would extract. So what survey questions would you ask the websites, right? So, right, so like a data entry form, and you would say, okay, name of hospital, or I don't know, I forget what you did. Name of hospital, website, does a hospital have, I forgot what your stuff was, so.
Well, yeah, I can email you as well with the research question, just to clarify maybe, because I mean, if there was a data set that I could use, that would be awesome, but I'm not sure if there is one that shows like best practices for partnership programs. So.
That's why I'm like, I don't know. That's what makes it really interesting.
Okay.
Also,
yeah.
Google that and see if there's data for that, because
okay, yeah. I'll figure it out.
Actually, a feasible project. Oddly enough, it's a feasible project. It's a mixed methods.
Yeah, I'll figure it out and I'll email you as well. So I'll let someone else go. Thank you.
All right, Jacob.
Yeah. So for the discussion posts recently, I've been using my thesis for the research questions, and I'm gathering primary data. So I kind of had a similar question as Tamarin, and I'm just curious for this assignment, should I come up with a different research question to practice finding data sets, or?
That's a good question. So you're gathering primary data?
For the thesis, yes.
For your thesis. I would also suggest that you look at comparison data. So especially if you have an outcome that may have a population-based data set that could also help you compare. Does that make sense? So for example, what's your outcome, for example?
Outcome is patient satisfaction. The intervention is like basically telemonitoring, and the population is pregnant women.
So there's a NCHS, National Center for Health Statistics, has a telemedicine data set specifically for I don't know, it would be a little challenging.
So I could look through data sets to see if there's any data that might be similar to my research question.
Yeah, so basically what you want to compare is, because, and I think I've said this in some of my comments, is how does patient satisfaction with telemedicine in general look like, right? Mm-hmm. So that helps you to build the evidence base and legitimacy of your research question. Mm-hmm. Because I know very little about it in general, but it'd be interesting to know about, does telemedicine improve, worsen, or no change to patient experience and patient satisfaction? Mm-hmm. I'm wondering if HCAHPS and CAHPS have caught on to telemedicine. So HCAHPS and CAHPS, which are also on there, are, why can't I remember the abbreviations for anything right now? I just published in this, consumer patient satisfaction something or other.
Consumer assessment of healthcare providers and systems.
Thank you. Consumer assessment of healthcare providers. So it's a very popular and well-known data set that's been around for years. That's well-established measures of patient experience. Now they call it patient experience.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I guess I'll look through those
And that might help you glean some ideas, some literature, and some comparable information.
great.
Because
Thank you.
what I really want you to do, the idea is really for you guys to just kind of dig into data sets and look at the measures that they have. That's the whole premise of the discussion.
Okay, great. Thank you for your help.
Wow, I can't believe I have you guys doing primary data collection. I'm always like, you have masters, you're trying to graduate. But that's great, and it is a very timely topic.
Yeah, I'm interested in getting a PhD, I think, so I wanted to make sure I
Oh,
graduate with a thesis.
wonderful. That's good.
I don't know when we'll get a PhD, but it's on the radar.
You should consider the manuscript option then. You're
Yeah,
not, are you?
I don't know like the difference. I was just told that a manuscript and thesis are pretty similar.
They are. It's just manuscripts look good for PhD applications.
Ooh. Oh, well, maybe I can change this into a manuscript.
Oh, yeah.
So. Okay, thanks again.
Of course, of course. I'll add a little note too to help people with primary data questions. But yeah, no worries. And if you have more questions, we can set up a meeting. All right, Luke, you just hanging out? You have a question? Thelma?
Yeah, I got a question. Actually, I got two questions.
You get one. Sorry,
I'll give you the easy one really quick. I'm sharing the screen. When we're using SAS, is it cheating if you use SQL?
No, it's not cheating.
Okay, cool.
Reference tool for SAS. Of course not. Go crazy.
Yeah, I was sitting here like scratching my head, trying to figure out how to answer that question.
That's your title.
Like, I can call SQL into SAS, and I can just
of course you can.
A SQL script. Cool.
Of course you can. You absolutely can.
And then the other question: how the devil do we get started on a management project? Like, how do you even begin that process? Normally, this would. What's that?
Talk about that. Set up a meeting with me because we're still trying to work a few kinks out on the management projects.
Okay, because like in the past, I thought info had just kind of come out at the beginning of the semester.
Pre-COVID, my friend. Pre-COVID.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, I'll just stay tuned because the sooner I can get started on it, the better.
Yeah, we'll get back to you on that. But you'll be, we can, yeah.
Sorry. Thank you. That's it for me. Bye.
All right. Ladies, thank you for your patience. How can I help?
So I was able to get it to work.
You're awesome.
But I was trying to create my lib name and I was getting a weird error message and I don't remember if we went over it or not because I didn't have my SAS working either when we went over lib name. But
yeah, it's all in that file, the SAS code file. Oh my gosh, sorry, that's not nice. Excuse me. Oh my God. Y'all, I cannot. Okay.
I had a similar question to Dalen. So before I had to re-download it, it was working fine and I had created everything. And then when it got downloaded again to be able to do the final steps, it suddenly just nothing will work. And I had already done it, so I feel like I'm doing it right, but I keep getting error messages even though I'm following the instructions and it worked before.
Okay, so what are the error messages in the log or are they even open SAS?
In the log for me.
Oh, good. Okay, so both of you, let's see those screens. So Dalen, let's start with you. Actually, no, Dalen, you need to look at that file because I'm guessing that you just aren't familiar with typing in the code yourself. So do you remember where that file is? If you go to the modules, or go to the home page, wherever you want. I've linked out to it like 50 times. So there's always, I think if you look at week 4 on the home page, see where it says this is our SAS code board where all the code snippets will go?
Yes. Let me see.
Will we be using SAS for the final project for this class?
Oh yeah. You're using SAS for the take-home quiz. You're using SAS till all the time. All right, you're in there. I saw you. Thelma, share your screen. The other thing I want you to try, if you keep having trouble, is trying remoting into one of the campus labs. If you go back, remember I gave you all the steps to do that because that way you guys have a backup. I want everybody to have a plan B.
Yeah, I watched the videos too. I don't know why. I had already done it and it was fine, and then
It's okay.